we're checking back in with the Woodward School for Girls to find out how they are coping during this unusual new school year. So the head of school, Renee Descheny Farkas, is with us. We're also introducing you to Linda Harding, and Linda is the Director of Enrollment and Marketing. So Renee, Linda, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Great, thank you, Joe. Yeah, this is great.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And Renee, last time we chatted was back in April when COVID had just hit, and everybody was kind of scrambling to figure out how they were going to, cope and adjust and pivot in a very, very short period of time. Even back then, I remember you telling me that Woodward remarkably did that seamlessly. So has that still been the case?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you remember the important point back then. Yes, we moved to learning from home, and we were stunned at how smoothly it happened. And, I think that there was some preparation for it, but I think that Woodward has that small school advantage. It's always been small for 125 years. And when you're moving 100 to 120 students online, it's a big difference from moving 4,000 or 5,000 online. So it went really well. And that led us into, we dealt with this all summer, wondering about the safety and health issues, and would we open, would we stay remote? So we made the decision to do what's called a hybrid, but we're really 4 days in and 1 day remote. So we're in on Monday and Tuesday, we're remote on Wednesday, and we're back in on Thursday and Friday. And we opened last week. And I think that the big thing, Joe, that I'm experiencing right now, in addition to having a successful opening, is that parents everywhere are worried about the learning loss that students of all ages are experiencing. And so that's something I'd like to share to the community in this interview, that, we fully understand that. And Woodward is an alternative here for families. It's a small school. We are accepting some transfer students at particular grade levels. And the main point is we're really an affordable tuition for a great private educational experience. And as I said to you, when I first met you, when I first came on, and then in April, Woodward continues to be the best kept secret in the city of the presidents, right? And that the opportunity to be back on the show and to tell people more about Woodward and what we're doing, we are seeing a lot of interest from the community now. And so that made me, want to get out and say, let's talk to Joe again and tell him more about what we're doing here. But it's a very successful experience so far. The girls came in last week. We had middle school come in 1 day, and then we had upper school the next day. And then Friday we had everybody together. And they're wearing their masks. We've outfitted the building beautifully with all kinds of new safety measures. You walk down the hallways, you can have motionless dispensers there. It's a different world, but we were able to do it quite flawlessly. And I believe we're a very safe environment right now. Still a little worrisome in the world about what's going on, but we're really happy to see the girls back, and that they're smiling, but we can only see that through their eyes because everybody's wearing their masks. But they are having, interaction with teachers. We now have, this is the week that the academics started again. And I've been around to the classrooms, and the students act like they don't even have a mask on. I think it's much harder for the adults. And last week we learned how to project our voices a little bit better and sit a little closer. But, we've got hand gestures for distancing 6 feet apart. And this means make sure your mask is on. But the kids are 100% compliant. So we've really been in a good place.
We've seen, I'm sure you were aware, in some of the public school systems, some angst by teachers and by staff about going back. Did you experience that at Woodward at all?
Yes, I would say we all have angst. As I was sharing with you earlier, as a leader, you feel like you know how to make decisions, and you often know that not everybody's going to think it was the best decision. But this decision's very hard because it's a public health one. And I think that the teachers are nervous, but they also know that, kids learn best when they're back at class, right? And we thought it was really important to get opened and allow the students to reconnect with each other, but also build relationships amongst themselves and their teachers, because, we're kind of predicting that we're going to go back out remote November or something. We don't know if we are, but we want to be prepared for that. So the most important, after health and safety, the number one key reason that we went back is that we needed those students to have those connections, and for the teachers to meet the students again, because teaching remote is really hard. And if I don't know your personality and know like the little look on your face to know that you're not getting it, or I have to zoom in and check in, we really wanted that to happen. So yes, the teachers are worried, but I think teachers are frontline workers. They don't get a lot of credit for it, but they really are.
Linda, to Renee's points about people inquiring more about Woodward now than ever, are you seeing that in the enrollment department?
Yes, everyone in private school says their applications are up. I think it's what I hear from parents is that they really want to, this is the prime time to take advantage of the small schools, not only be in classroom. I heard from one of my new parents just the other day, and she said, I went to an all-girls school and I had a wonderful experience. I wanted the same thing for my daughter. And Miss Renee will talk about the developmental stages of girls, grades 6 through 12. And, Woodward's been working with this population for 125 years, so no one has a better understanding than we do. But one of the moms told me, my daughter used to be so much more self-expressed. She used to come home like happy all the time. Now she's a little bit more reserved when she goes to school. She comes home with a little bit more anxiety. And I don't want that for her. I want her to be in an environment where she can thrive. And I was thinking about private school, maybe in high school, but maybe now's the right time. So that's a story I'm often hearing from the parents' point of view. From the students' point of view, it's interesting also. I had one student that came in from a much larger public school system, and one of the ways that we evaluate students is looking at what their teachers have to say about them, as well as the parents and as well as the student essay. But one of the English teachers for this student, I'm going to call her Cheryl, says, yes, she's bright, she's ambitious. If anything, she's reserved in class because she doesn't want to outshine the other students. But the math teacher described her as happy, tired, lost. How could this be the same girl? So right. It found out it all came down to a particular incident, because in the child's essay, she says, I raised my hand, I gave the wrong answer, and the other students laughed at me. So that's the end of, I'm not taking any more risks in that class. I'm not speaking out, I'm not taking any more risks. And if anything, she's kind of shut down. So, but she had visited the Woodward School last spring before the pandemic, and she noticed that girls just raised their hand and gave answers, and they got encouragement from each other. No one laughed if it wasn't the right answer.
Right.
Sometimes in classes there are no right answers. Everything advances the conversation. So she said, I could see myself being there, being happy there. So from different perspectives, now is the right time for a lot of families to make that switch from a public school to a private school. And to Miss Renee's point, it's it's an outstanding education here with great one-on-one college counseling. The girls get into great schools, but maybe it is the time to think about it sooner rather than later.
Yeah. How many students are currently enrolled at Woodward, and how many can you have?
Oh, that's a great question. But the social distancing, but that's 6 feet apart. We're really trying to keep the ratio of 1 teacher to 10 students.
Okay.
We do have larger classrooms. For instance, we have the middle school in the auditorium, and that'll hold about 25 socially distanced. And so we have about 60 students currently. Okay. And we're hoping, after this pandemic, that we'll be able to double that very, very quickly. And as you know, we're in our renovated building. So the Woodward community spent, $7 million more to enhance the student experience here on this campus. And that was pre-pandemic. So we hit a really sweet spot. So we have this beautiful new building with upgraded technology and wonderful HVAC and spanking new. And it couldn't have been, not to say that there's a silver lining here, but as far as the pandemic goes, these spacious classrooms, this high grade technology, beautiful windows you can throw open if you need to. to enhance the air. So we couldn't be in a better position right now.
Yeah, that's great.
to
Renee, maybe you could
students.
tell us a little bit about that. You're calling it the Big Blue Campus renovation. So I'm curious what that's all about.
Yes, well, that's a great story. And as you know, it's a historical building in the city of Quincy. We've been here 125 years, just celebrating that anniversary. And it was a gift from an alum to totally renovate the building. And we just finished it over a 2.5-year period. And, you know, you can almost see yourself in the floors. They're so shiny. And the walls, there's not a nick on the wall. There's all kinds of upgraded technology. We've got all new science labs, new art room, and we do have one more addition that will begin in the late fall. We'll be building a gymnasium out in the back, but that won't interrupt any of the school operations because we opened the whole, I don't know if you've been in the building before, Joe, but when you came in, it was kind of you had to walk into the reception area. Now it's all open with marble tops. It's glorious. It's just really beautiful. So, and the girls are really excited.
And keeping the
Yeah,
charm,
I want to come back.
Yeah.
And it kept the charm. All the wood molding
Absolutely,
is still here. So all the renovation, I would say, all the work went on behind the walls.
Yeah, and Joe, one of the things that we are doing now that the renovation is finished is we've got a new strategy called the Woodward Plus strategy, and that we want to grow Woodward. We want to grow our enrollment back up because we really had to manage it over the last 2 years because, as you probably recall, we were off campus, off site.
Yes.
We couldn't really do adequate admission for the past 3 years. So we brought Linda on in preparation for this big opening. So, and she's been a great addition. But at the same time, we're also looking to become more of a resource to the community because one of the renovations in the auditorium, we have a whole new theater and stage, new curtains, new everything, sound system. And we want to make that available in the community. Some will be rental probably if somebody wants to come in and run a small theater company. Where we did do a summer online program this summer and had some unique interest in that. We will be doing a lot more STEM work for girls because we're equipped to do that, and looking to put a summer program in this summer, hopefully in person.
Mm-hmm.
And then last is our community speaker series that we're just about to launch because we would really like to see ourselves more of a community resource. And obviously our speaker series will probably be on girls issues, girls in technology, parenting girls. But we want to open that to the community so that we can have guest speakers, not just for Woodward parents, but for the whole community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're really excited about what's to come. And so if you know people looking for meeting spaces and all, you know, once we're safe,
Right.
we'll be available to do that. We've got, you know, a lot of space now, which is great. You know, Girl Scout groups and all were in here before. They followed us to 180, and I'm sure they're going to follow back. But so we're looking forward to doing that.
Well, it's great to hear. I mean, as you know, Quincy has been looking into some kind of a cultural center for many
Right,
years
exactly.
now. And it doesn't have a space like that.
We tie right in with their 400th anniversary, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's very true. I'm curious, Renee, you know, the other big story this year, in addition to the pandemic, has been the issue of social justice and
Absolutely,
social unrest.
yeah.
How is Woodward coping with that?
Yeah, so yeah, we've taken a very serious interest in that, and we do have a diverse student body, and that our board wrote a very beautiful letter to the community, and we're also putting more emphasis on teachers of color, which we had already started to do a couple of years ago. So that's worked well, and we are going to start a Black student girls group, which, you know, will be white students will join as well, but we want to open that up to, you know, we're all in this together and everybody matters. And we want to put a lot of attention to that. So, and we feel very lucky that we do have a diverse student body. So we really know what we're talking about. It's not talking about something that we're not experiencing. So it's very dear to us. But thank you for asking about that, because all of the schools are coping with, you know, how can we do enough to make everybody feel safe?
Right. Yeah, it was a major discussion in the recent search for a school superintendent, you know, for
Yes,
the
yes.
public schools. Yeah.
Right.
Matter of fact,
right.
I remember you reaching out to the public schools back when the pandemic first hit to offer some help with remote learning. Did that happen or?
No, I didn't hear too much back from them, but we are appreciative of the work. They include us in their professional development budget
Okay.
as a city school. The mayor was also quite generous in seeing if he could get us some Chromebooks, but we're on Microsoft, so it wasn't the right platform and we weren't able to take that. But we are working very hard to continue a relationship with Quincy Public because, you know, we're all in this together, and you know, it's different running a small school. I have a lot of empathy for, you know, what they're going through with that many students and lunch programs and bus programming and all of that. We actually thought about seeing if some of our students could do some community work to help out, but you can't really expose them right now, you know? So our hands are kind of tied, but.
Yeah. You know, a lot of families are being impacted financially as well during this time. Is there any assistance available through Woodward for folks who might be struggling?
Yes, maybe Linda, do you want to speak a little bit on the scholarships we have?
One of the things that impressed me most when I joined Woodward, Joe, was something in the handbook that said our mission was to make this academic opportunity available to as many students, as many women and young girls as possible. And that really struck me. It really struck me. So when I joined Woodward, I found out that they had recently set up scholarship programs. There's two types of scholarship programs. One's merit-based, so everyone coming into the middle school can apply to what we call the Abigail Adams Scholarship. Oh. $4,000 contribution that could follow them all the way through the middle school, and high schoolers could apply for the 125th anniversary scholarship, which is a $3,000 scholarship, which could follow them all the way through. Citizens of Quincy also receive a small scholarship. So that's it on the scholarship side, but I found the school to be very generous with financial aid or financial awards. So everyone is invited to fill out a financial aid application. And Woodward's has been very, very generous to having qualified students be able to join us and making it a reality for their families.
Right. And Joe, our tuition is quite affordable compared to independent schools. And that's one of the stories we're trying to communicate is that, you know, as I said earlier, I think a lot of parents compare private school to like $40,000, and we're less than half of that. Plus we have scholarship opportunities. So that's an important, we've had a few people come in and say, what's the tuition? They're like, oh yeah, I would like to have a meeting and come in and meet you. Okay. So that's, you know, I think that there's an aura about independent schools, and like to get that word out, you know, and we're also interested in, you know, I don't know if you remember, but I have a strong background in partnership with parents in running schools, and I believe in that so importantly. And, you know, I know that parents are worried about the learning loss for their daughters, and so we're looking very closely as a special area for 10th and 11th grade students who may feel that this is their last chance to get ready for college. And we've got a superb one-on-one college counseling program with probably the best college acceptances we've ever seen last year, which was just really exciting. And that's the new program we put in, that it's really a one-on-one and have a very highly capable person. So we're, you know, going to be generous to parents of 10th and 11th grade girls who may want to come in and say, help us get through these next 2 years so she can get to college, because this learning gap is long now. And, you know, if they're going back remote, and remote means different things to lots of people. Some of the remote is 30, the girls that we've been interviewing, last spring, they were in school 30 minutes a day. Ooh. And our girls were 4 to 4.5 hours, but with time off in between. So I have a lot of passion and compassion for that, and hope that message gets out to parents that, you know, you've got to be worried with the 10th and 11th year-old student. We're interested in the daughters, obviously. Sure. Yeah. And that, you know, we will look very favorably upon you because, you know, our board has asked us to be generous and caring to the community, because this is a pandemic. This isn't just like a bad choice a couple of years ago and now you're paying off for it. This is a pandemic, and we're all in this together, and let's figure out how we can help, because these students, didn't deserve this. And, their future is holding on their college career, right? And we want to build their confidence back up and, give them the opportunity to do well.
Yeah. So you think it's appropriate even for an 11th grader to transfer even just for 1 year?
Yes, it's not usual, but we are very open to that, because this is what this is about. And she probably has some ideas of what college she wants already. Generally we help identify, the reach schools or the not so difficult schools, and we might not know the student all that well, but certainly our college counseling program is called one-on-one because it's one-on-one with the students, and it's also one-on-one with the parents. And that's pretty unusual that the parents get a lot of, time with our college counselor, Ms. Andrews. And so, a family that we don't know well, by getting to know the parent and the daughter, we can certainly help them.
Okay.
And we're really open to that, because, it's only going to be 2 years for them, but let's get them off on the right foot.
Sure.
The best foot that we can, right?
Linda, did you want to add something? I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No. I'm just shaking my head. I agree.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I often think that high school students may hesitate about transferring into the 11th grade when they're halfway through high school.
Sure.
But again, I was just speaking with a mom in Hingham. She says, I'm just not happy with the attention she's getting, and there must be another way, or not getting. Yeah, there just got to be another way. My daughter's bright. She wants to be in AP classes. Of course, she could take them online, but wouldn't it be so much more enriching to be working with a teacher or a small class of a cohort?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter what age. I mean, we know students learn better when they're motivated, and they're not motivated if they don't have connections and relationships, because, school to students is about academics and friendships, right? And they're both interchangeable, they're equal. And if you don't have friends, and, one of the things that, we've been reading a lot about is the social emotional needs of students of all ages being disconnected like this. And there's a term I learned about in the spring called ambiguous loss, that when something's taken away from you and you don't understand why, and you can't even articulate it. So I think that's internalized with a lot of students, and that's going to take a long time to bring that back, and build that back up, because that's a inner feeling,
Well, there's some formative years, that your students are
absolutely,
in.
Absolutely. And just, Friday afternoon, at the end of the day, we had our traditional ice cream social, which Woodward's has lots of traditions, and that's one. And we couldn't invite the parents in, and we did it by cohort, because we have the girls sectioned into middle school, upper school, and seniors.
Okay.
Those are our three. They kind of travel in a pack, right? And they had their ice cream and all, and they were able to take their mask down to have the ice cream. And you heard giggles and laughing, and it was a wonderful, wonderful feeling just to say this was worth it, to get them back. And now they're back today, and they're in all their academic classes, and they're raising their hands and eagerly learning. So it's really wonderful to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, education is a holistic experience, right? It's
Exactly,
not just
exactly.
the
Good
3 or
point.
4 hours. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Curious, Renee, was there a graduation ceremony for 2020?
Oh my goodness, my heart is pounding again.
2020.
Yeah, the seniors, in a small school like Woodward, the students have a voice. And these seniors were loud and clear that they did not want a virtual graduation. And that was pretty true across the country, and particularly in girls' schools, I know that. And they made me absolutely promise. So we have a date of November 23rd at the Church of the Presidents. I don't know yet if it's going to happen. We're going to be looking into that. But they even made the reservation and all of that. And they have that whole week planned with Thanksgiving feast and all these kind of things. So not sure what's to come. But, that was, I don't know, that was the hardest part of last spring, was coping with helping the class of 2020 cope. But we're all off to college now. I wrote to them all over the weekend, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. And it's on our calendar. It's one of the few things on our calendar because a lot of our events we couldn't put back up yet until we know what we're doing.
Of course, yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, when you made that promise, nobody really knew what
yeah,
the
but this
future
may,
held.
yeah, but one of the jokes is this may be the year that we have 2 graduations. We have the class of 2020 an hour before the class of 2021 in May, because I would assume this is going to be over by then, but we don't know yet.
Let's hope, yeah. Well, I mean, a
Maybe
lot of
not.
them certainly know each other, I'm sure. So that
Exactly.
was,
Yeah,
that'd be kind of
exactly.
fun, yeah.
The new
Linda, I'm
normal,
curious,
right?
what is your background, Linda, before you came to Woodward?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. I've been really lucky. I've been in higher education for many, many years. I'm afraid to say when I started, but I've been working over 30 years in higher ed, primarily business schools,
Okay.
marketing, admissions, and recruiting for MBA programs. So mostly here in the greater Boston area. So I have a lot of experience with the local colleges, and I've had a most rewarding career working with young adults. So this is a different population for me, a little younger. And some of their parents are the ages of like some of my executive MBA candidates that I worked with, but a lot of them work with similar companies, the same companies that we had. You know, most recently with Northeastern University. So we have a lot of, business partners. So it's fun when I hear someone's coming from State Street, because we've been working with State Street for years, or one of the pharmaceutical companies in Kendall Square. So that's kind of a neat association. And I have a really interesting connection, because in between, after 9/11, I stepped out of working in Boston and became an independent insurance agent. So I have all these connections with small business owners on the South Shore. So recently I started doing virtual meetings with Rotary clubs and such. And I see all my older friends, we're all older now, right? Yeah. Some of my same friends and connections that I had when I was an independent insurance agency. So that's fun. Reconnecting with those groups.
Okay, so yeah, you bring a varied background to Woodward. Then a little bit on the educational side, a little bit on the private sector side. Yeah,
absolutely. And the private sector, yeah. So that's been a lot of fun networking again here on the South Shore.
Sure. Speaking of virtual, I know that there's a virtual open house at Woodward, right?
Yes, every Wednesday morning at 8:30. So bring your friends, tell everybody about it. They can just go on the website and get the Zoom number and sign in. And, we run them for about 50 minutes. And we usually have a teacher, a student, an alum, a parent talk about it. But we have a little show that we tell them a little bit about and turn, primarily into questions and answers, and learn a little bit about their daughters. So we're very interested. We're now getting ready to start doing some school tours. They'll be by appointment only, and of course a face mask and all of that, but to let them see the environment now that the students are back. So we're really looking forward to new admissions and continuing to grow the school.
Sure. Are you continuing, Renee, virtual meetings with parents during this time?
Virtual what?
Virtual meetings with parents.
Your virtual teas.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was a big hallmark of the learning from home is that I ran 3 virtual teas with parents every single week, and it was just tremendous. It was a great method of support, and I carried one on during the summertime, and now going to reactivate them. And I think that what we have learned is that the virtual meetings, there's some real silver lining to that. One is we're back in school and I can take my mask off and talk to you and Linda, which is great when it's virtual. If you were in my office, we'd be talking through our masks.
Right.
And at the same time, we had a parent in the summer, if you remember, Linda, was a new parent, and he came to every single open house and the virtual teas. And he said something like, my past school, when my daughter was there for 8 years, I talked to the head probably twice. I know Renee, like I've been at her school for 10 years. But when it's hard to run meetings with parents, and I believe very strongly in the partnership with the families. And so a Zoom meeting is an easy way for people to Zoom in. And sometimes people can only stay for a half hour. I do them for up to an hour because it gets long. But they get to connect and check in, and I get to know what's on their mind and what are they feeling and thinking. And so we'll keep those going on because it's so much easier than scheduling them. Parents have to come here, take time off work. Now they run into their faculty room or their lounge area, and they pull up their computer and they're, "Hi, Renee, I'm in my work. I can only be on for 20 minutes, but there's a group of parents," and they've gotten to know each other. So during the summer, a lot of the parents of the middle school students kept the girls connected. They went to the beach and flew kites, and they had some art projects, and they got used to their masks. And, I think that was an advantage for us. Because our middle school is just a fabulous place. I mean, the high school is too, but the high school is so academic and it's all about going to college, where the middle school, it's really about growing and developing. And they're just wonderful. The 6th grade students this morning, these are the brand new students, right? This is their 4th day of school. And we have our all school meetings on Monday mornings. So we had our first one. And they actually got up on the Zoom and they introduced their project, and 7 students got up and spoke.
On the stage.
On the stage, the brand new stage. That's right. It was wonderful.
Yes.
With their masks on, it was great. I have a great video. I want to send it out. It was really wonderful.
The podium's this high, and you can see like this little head.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the silver linings, because there have been, as terrible as this experience has been for everyone, there have been some benefits, some positives that have come out of it.
Right.
And that's, I think, one of them.
Exactly. I also liked working from home. It worked well for me. Now I'm driving back into work every day and having to get dressed up, but but we'll be out on Wednesdays, so that'll be good. And the only reason we're doing the Wednesday, well, I guess there's 2 reasons. We just want us to keep our foot in the remote should we have to switch back, or pivot, as they say, right? That's the new word.
Yeah.
So, we need to be able to know how to do that, so that we'll have, I think one of our success stories last year was that we had spent 2 days before we went out training the students on how to Zoom in, making decisions to everybody would be the same platform, and all of that, so that then they went out, they kind of knew how to do it.
Yes.
And that's why we're keeping in Wednesday, but it's also going to be a big day of deep cleaning.
Yeah.
We bought the defogger machines and all of that. And we use that nightly, but Wednesday it'll be a real cleanup day.
Yeah, public schools are doing the same thing, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we've got outdoor tents being put up now. We sodded the back and had that all leveled off. So we've got some nice big green areas. And although sports has been postponed for a while, we're putting together the drill and skill programs for the students. We brought in several new athletes, so we're pretty excited about that. And just to get them out moving and laughing and fooling around out in the fresh air will be good. So I hope we have what's called an Indian summer.
Yeah.
It seemed it this weekend, so I hope that continues for us. Yeah.
Yes, an extended one for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Joe, I have a quick question. I'm really glad that you asked that question about social justice, and it's been such a big issue. And here with the girls, we're trying to, especially the young children, to have them be less anxious about what is going on in the world, but feel a part of what is, and being able to make a difference. And Renee was talking about the 6th grader and their kindness project. So it's the thing we, even as adults, is how can we be more patient with each other? How can we listen more to each other? How can we be kinder in the world? How can we be more compassionate in the world?
Absolutely.
So that's, they're getting a strong prep school education, but we're also addressing, even though it's a secular school, we're also addressing their gifts of their souls, bringing this kindness, compassion, patience, and teaching those virtues, or not even teaching because it's the natural part of what a child brings to the table, but really empowering them to express themselves in that way. So I think that's a small role when you're looking at all of the social unrest that's going on, especially that's been brought out.
Yeah, that's a great point, Linda. Yeah.
Yeah, well, these are the girls. This is the generation that will be living any change, that happens.
That's right.
So they
be making that change.
Right.
Yes, that would.
Leading that change. Yes.
You mentioned the website, but you didn't give it out. So what is it?
Oh, it's thewoodwardschool.org.
There you
go. Gotta remember
.org. Yes, exactly.
We'll pick the phone up and call us, and we'll get right back to you.
Okay, what's a good number, Renee?
617-773-5610. I
extension
haven't dialed it in a long
223.
time.
Extension 223, and it'll go directly to me.
Okay, there you go. Anything else that we should add, ladies?
No, I just want to thank you, Joe, for letting us come on and you know, give you an update and know that we're really here to be a resource to the community. And it's actually a very good time at Woodward for people who might be considering, you know, closing that learning gap, stopping that learning gap for their daughters. We're here to talk to them, and you know, we want to know every story. Part of, you know, our founding guidelines are to know every student and her story, to partnership with parents, and to help navigate during these, you know, the developmental stages, but now during these pandemic years, because this is going to be an adjustment. So we understand it, and we're here to help. So people should give us a call, and even if it's just to talk.
Oh, you know, I can't help but remember, I mean, you said Woodward's 125 years old, so at the last pandemic, Woodward was dealing with this as well.
That's right.
That's
right.
sweet. And Joe, I really wanted to thank QATV for being such a wonderful partner to the community here in Quincy, to connect people and organizations in so many different ways. So it plays such an important role here. So I really want to thank you for your leadership and your guidance and the station and what it provides.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I'll pass that on to our staff as well.
Yes.
And if we can do anything more, please reach out. We'd be happy to help.
Okay, great. Same here, Joe. If you need any of our teachers or anything to come on and do something, or students even come on and talk about it, where it'd be a great experience for them anyway. So I know they've done some work with QATV before.
Great. We look forward to it.
And they're pretty expert at Zooming now.
No, I'm sure they can do.
They're very good. Yeah.
Throw at them technically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Okay. Take care, Joe. Thanks. Stay healthy. Bye.
You too.